let's start right at the beginning. When we see a lot of conflicts, a lot of wars, a lot of political disagreements on the mainstream media over here in the West, the kind of origin and the original reason of why it's happening isn't normally explained very clearly because everyone's so caught up in what's happening in the moment. What's the original cause for the the current conflict between Palestine and Israel? What do you think's at the root cause of it?
Actually, first of all, let me just explain the word conflict.
Sure.
It is, yeah, it is not conflict here in Palestine. It is only occupation because when you talk about conflict, it means we have two balanced power. But indeed, we have armed to teeth Israeli forces, and we have here Palestinians. Just most of them are not armed. Only here in Gaza, we have just homemade weapons and this stuff. So we cannot say there is a war or conflict because there is no balanced power between them. And actually, the many stories started before 1948. Actually, 1948, the Israel was created on Palestinian land because the British mandate granted the Jewish people at the Zionist movement at that time to give them a land here in Palestine. And then in 1948, Israel was created at that time. And then so many thousands of Palestinians, were massacred and were forced to expel from their homeland. So many went to outside Palestine to European or Arab countries, and some went into other cities and other governorates here in Palestine, like in the West Bank and in the Gaza Strip. And very, very few Palestinians are now in Israel. And actually, the Palestinians who are in Israel right now, they do not have, they suffer from discrimination because Israel do not give them their own right as a citizen of Israel or anything else. Yeah. So, so that we can say that this is the start of the problem,
Hmm.
the occupation of the Palestinian land. And then, you know, that there are so many efforts in order to help the refugees, the Palestinian refugees, and so many efforts to beautify the image of Israel. And indeed, we can say that the Israelis, succeeded in beautifying their selves. In the past, they used to say Zionist militia, Zionist
Hmm.
movement, and that's it. But right now, they just say Israel, the democratic state. So they just succeeded in making like a very good narrative for Israel.
Mm.
And all of this because they work so hard with the mainstream media in order to only narrate what the Israeli media narrate. For
Mm.
example, if you look here, for we have under Israeli siege, I mean, when talking about siege, it means land, air, and the ground sea. The people are just trapped, like, well, what is happening here due to the coronavirus. The people used to stay home and used to the lockdown. So exactly what is happening here in Gaza is just lockdown since nearly 15 years so far. And actually, those people suffer every day, and everything here is on the brink of collapse. And all of these things that is happening every day, we do not, these things do not get a mention in the mainstream media, unfortunately. Um, because I don't know, but because the Israeli media just try to silence everybody who is trying to cover anything about Palestinian people. Uh, and since nearly from years to years, like from after a couple of years, we just there is aggression against the people of Gaza, and also these aggressions. Just when the ministry media cover it, they just say that Palestinian rocket just fired from
mm,
Gaza into Israel and caused
mm,
blah blah blah. But they do not mention the massacres, the people who got killed, the people who got massacred while
mm,
they were in their homes, the people who were just working. So yeah, in their work with the
mm,
fishing or in the farming, the Israeli forces just shot at them and
mm,
killed them. And so many children got murdered, got massacred. So many pregnant women, so many women got jailed, got
mm,
murdered.
mm.
And in these mainstream media, none of these none of these humanitarian stories got covered.